Hi, hello and welcome to a new video here from Faceless guy. Today I will react to geography now, Germany, my home country. I also did this before. When you want to watch my first reaction, check out the E or check out the description. You might find the links there. I think you will. I think you will put the links there. Yeah, here I am. Hi, please like and subscribe. Support me. Through a like or through a subscription or both. Maybe I will also have at some point later a Patreon, but right now just subscribe please and support me. I really enjoy making these videos and I want to do more of this. Also watch my Let's Play if you're interested in Trails of Cold Steel. I already am in the third game, but I'm still uploading the first game, so I think I have already 80 episodes or so, 85. So yeah, please enjoy. If you have some other suggestions for games I should play, then also write it down in the comments. And otherwise, we'll start with this video, and I will also today, right after this one, react to another Geography Now video which came out today. Here is the title: The Weirdest Countries That Used to Exist. Take a look on it. Subscribe to him, watch this video. I will have maybe even the links there, but I will react to this later. I mean after this one in a different video, and then schedule it for the next days, because right on the same day when it was uploaded. Okay, I will not do this, but yeah, maybe tomorrow, in 2 days or so, I'm not sure. But right now, I watched this video. I hope you enjoyed. Germany, my home country. I also already did a reaction to this one before, but something's changed, and I want to talk about Israel and Palestine as well at some point, at least a little bit. I will maybe later make a more in-depth video about this, and my viewpoints on it, and how I think that Germany did not do enough in the last days and weeks. I think it is nearly 2 weeks ago now. Tomorrow it will be 2 weeks ago. So yeah. But more about this later. Let's now start with this video. Please subscribe.
All right. Lederhosen, Schnitzel, beer, bratwurst, order, bread and beer, complicated history beer, no humor, EDM, and gummy bears that will kind of like give you diarrhea, but it's like worth it.
I like this Haribo gummy bears very much. I have here also moment. Yeah. Gummy bear.
Ugh, those are such horrible stereotypes that every German is so sick and tired of hearing. Want a gummy bear?
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. So, we've conquered Belgium's castle, jumped through Denmark's lagoon, danced through France's forest, and now we've made it to the final boss of the EU, Kingpin Germany. Level 1. France's forest, and now we've made it to the final boss of the EU, Kingpin.
I don't even know exactly what the colors of the German flag mean. I know there's some history behind it, but I don't know. Maybe I also or at least in the moment I don't know. Maybe I will also watch the and also react to it, to the Flag Friday video about Germany. Let's see. Maybe I already did. I'm not sure.
Germany. Level 1. Begin. Ah, you know why I'm smiling. Yep, Germany has a lot of territorial anomalies. We'll get into that in a little bit, but first, Germany is located in central Western Europe, bordered by 9 other countries. Don't forget little Luxembourg, with small coasts on the North and Baltic Seas, which...
Okay, you can hear me, that's great. Yeah. Okay, Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Switzerland, Austria, Czechia, and Poland. Okay, yeah. I think that's true, yeah. I want to visit maybe some countries, man, at some point. I'm not sure where to start in my European neighborhood, and in the moment I have lots of money, but maybe I will do it one day. Maybe Poland or Czechia. Also, every country would be interesting to visit. Of course, Netherlands, Belgium. Anyway, let's continue.
They own about 50 small islands. Now, Germany, like the US, is a federal republic which has 16 smaller states, or Bundesländer, each with its own constitution, 3 of which are cities, the capital Berlin, Hamburg, and Bremen, which is actually kind of like 2 cities, including Bremerhaven on the coast, but they kind of act like one entity. Fun side note, Lower Saxony is actually geographically situated further north than regular Saxony.
I mean, he already said geographically more north and south, but the reason behind why it is called Lower Saxony and Saxony is because altitude. So Lower Saxony lays in a more flat region with and Saxony is more mountainous. So that's the reason why it is called Lower Saxony and Saxony.
Now let's jump into the fun stuff. Now we already discussed the Jungholz quadrupoint and
it's quite a funny thing. I watched it in the Austria episode. Jungholz Enclave. There's a pass where you can go from the from Austria into the enclave, or the Jungholz Enclave, but you have to go up to the summit of the mountain and then down again. So there is a way. It's not an exclave. It's not separated from Austria completely, but the only way to really go stay in Austria and enter the Jungholz Enclave is by climbing up to the top of the mountain, to the summit of the mountain, and then down again. Just I mean, I think they have even a mountain pass which leads above it, but yeah, it's just 1 meter wide or so, 1.5 meter wide. Anyway, let's continue.
The Vennbahn railway enclaves with Belgium and Austria. However, there's a few more. The entire town of Bussingen am Hochrhein is surrounded by Switzerland.
That's super interesting. It's also just, it looks like a few hundred meters which separate Germany here from Germany with Switzerland in the middle. But still, it's interesting, and maybe I'll visit at some point. It looks interesting. Jungholz, no, it was Bussingen am Hochrhein. Okay.
As part of the Konstanz is cut off by the Rhine River and surrounded by Switzerland. However, immediately across the river, a small patch of empty land on the German side actually belongs to Switzerland. Finally, they split the island of Usedom with Poland in the north. Germany is interesting because every state in the country has its own distinct culture, dialect, history, food, traditions. I mean, Bavarians will be quite drastically different from Schleswig-Holsteiners. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern will be different from Saarland. This all has to do with ancient...
I have to admit, some of these flags you have seen here.
Schleswig-Holsteiners, Mecklenburg.
This flag, for example, I have never seen before. I have to admit. So it's not like the state flags in the United States, I think, which are more rightly known in the country, I think. I made a short break. Okay, you hear me again. I was a little bit worried, but you hear me, I see it. But yeah, I made a short break. I continue now. But still, I don't really think that many Germans would recognize these flags. At least it's how I think, how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments whether I'm wrong or not. In your opinion?
Pommern will be different from Saarland. This all has to do with ancient and recent history. Basically, in the quickest way I can summarize this, Germanic tribes, Roman wars, Charlemagne, 3 kingdoms. This guy marries an Italian, creating a whole new mess called the Holy Roman Empire, made up of 300.
If you come from somewhere else far away from Germany, then please tell me what you learned about Germany in the school.
Smaller separate kingdoms, states, and dukedoms, which had nothing to do with Romans. Teutonic Knights, Brandenburgs became Prussia, Habsburgs became Austrians, Lithuanians and Poles made their own thing, whereas the Hungarians joined the Austrians. Wars, battles, Napoleon comes over and messes everything up, and finally, German nationalism surges, and in 1871, Otto von Bismarck creates the first proto-German...
Otto von Bismarck, yeah. He was a very famous German, and also he kind of created or implemented the first social security networks in Germany. He did this, of course, not out of a good heart, but because the working class forced him into this through the demonstrations. There was even, I think, a threat of a revolution which might come. It didn't come, but yeah, this pressured, I think, his government. I mean, he was the chancellor, I think, and the emperor. But the emperor's government, where he was the head of, I think. That's how things were. And I'm not wrong.
unified state. And then they're all like, oh dang, we came late to this game. We gotta scramble for some colonies. And that's how all of these countries at one point spoke German. Oh, and also keep in mind, like 300 years before this, a German banking company obtained colonial rights to Venezuela for like 20 years. They were looking for the lost city of El Dorado. That's how all of these countries at one point spoke German. Oh, and also keep in mind, like 300 years before this, a German banking company obtained colonial rights to Venezuela for like
Klein Venedig, Little Venice, interesting, 1528 to 1546. I've never heard of this, but interesting.
20 years. They were looking for the lost city of El Dorado. So technically, you can kind of say Germans colonized the Americas, but it wasn't like a nationalized conquest thing. Fast forward even more, and then you get World War I, the monarchy ends, Treaty of Versailles, they lose land, Nazis come in, World War II, Germany splits in two for about 40 years, and then finally, we get the Germany we have today. East Germany, consisting of these states, is today still quite different from the rest of Germany as it was first occupied and influenced by the Soviet Union. They are generally not as well off economically as the rest of the country, as you can still see the blocky Soviet-style buildings sprawled throughout the regions. In fact, the city of Berlin was split in half, and the west side was actually an enclave of West Germany, only accessible by train and highway.
I will maybe make a video later about East and West Germany and the reunification thing which was going on. But yeah, not now. Maybe later. In a different video, in a single video, in its own video. I have some things to say about this, but it can wait also a bit, so let's continue.
You can even see from a satellite image the divide. East Berlin still uses the yellowish
That's, I think, one of the most interesting stuff I have seen. I mean, I heard about this before, I watched this video many times, watched reactions to this video, but still, I like this very much. That's very interesting, this, that you can still to this day, at night, from above, see a difference.
Tinted sulfur vapor light bulbs, whereas the West still uses fluorescent and mercury arc white tinted light bulbs. Now the funny thing is, although Berlin is the largest city in Germany, the busiest airports are actually Frankfurt, Munich, Dusseldorf, with Berlin Tegel ranking at number 4. Otherwise, some top notable landmarks and spots would be the Brandenburg Gate, the Valhalla, Cologne Cathedral, the Ulminster Church, the tallest in the world, the Berlin Victory Column, and hundreds of castles all over, the most notable one probably being Neuschwanstein, the concept behind Disney's Cinderella Castle.
I have heard that there are many beautiful castles in Germany. I've not visited too many, but I heard about this. I think if you like to travel through the countryside and visit ancient stuff, then you can find some interesting stuff here.
Germany also has over 400 zoos, more than any other country in the world. And of course, everybody knows about the Autobahn, the highway system in which if you see this sign, it means there's no
I think this speed limit thing is something. I am I'm in favor of a speed limit in Germany. Many people would probably disagree with me here, and I think Germany is something similar. I mean, the obsession about cars and driving fast is similar to the obsession of the US Americans to have guns and shoot with them. It's both dangerous, it's both not useful for anything. Cars are more useful, of course, than guns because you can theoretically arrive faster somewhere, but the risk also increases to you have an accident, and it's not good for the environment. So that's two reasons why I think we should have a speed limit. But yeah, anyway, let's continue.
Speed limit, and it's like that for a huge portion of the roadway. And no wonder, considering how vast and wide those cultivated countrysides can get. Time for level 2. Okay, think of it this way. In Germany, the more down you go, the more up you move. Basically, Germany lies on the Atlantic shelf in the north that starts with the mudflats in the North Sea. Seriously, this island right here is accessible only for a few hours by foot until the tide comes and floods everything. Then everything just kind of creeps up into the Alps in the south by Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg, with the highest mountain, Zugspitze, located right along the border with Austria. Kind of like France, Germany is filled with a vast irrigating network of rivers like the Spree, Elbe, Weser, Rhine, and of course, the mighty Danube that starts here. About a third of the land is arable and another third is woodland, and after millennia of civilization, Germans have cultivated the crap out of their country. Most agriculture, of course, happens in the North Flat Plains and the central regions of the country, which is, by the way, kind of like Europe's Tornado Alley. Due to its position sandwiched between the Arctic blasts of Scandinavia and the moist, warm jet streams of the Mediterranean below, Germany can be an atmospheric war zone in the summer. There are more tornadoes on average in Germany than any other country in Europe. Speaking of flat farmland, Germany is the world's largest rye and hop producer. Germans abso-freaking-lutely love their bread.
That's true, absolutely true. We love our bread. I love my bread. I love dark bread, and I think that dark bread is more something which you can find typically in Eastern Europe, and maybe also other parts of the world. But in Europe, more in the East, like Poland, Germany also, and Latvia, Estonia, probably Russia, and so Belarus, in these countries. And white bread more in countries like Spain, France, maybe UK. I think that's the case. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But when I'm in another country, when I was in Vietnam, I also missed this kind of bread very much.
There are over 300 different kinds of bread in the country, more types than any other country in the world, and almost every meal incorporates some kind of slice or small bun or Brötchen of bread. Hast du gluten-free? Nein! Germans are heavy meat eaters, specifically in pork. They basically know every possible way to cook a pig. Over 50 different types of sausage exist alongside schnitzels, rouladen, sauerbraten, Schweinsachse, and at a big party you might find Spanferkel. Beer reigns supreme all over as the third largest consumers of beer after the Czech Republic, even their president has no problem with public intoxication, and Austria. Germany is world-renowned for their beer, which, by the way, follows the Reinheitsgebot rule in which they are only allowed to use water, hops, malt, and sometimes yeast. Nonetheless, about 1,300 breweries exist, pumping out over 5,000 brands. The oldest continuously existing brewery in the world, started by Benedictine monks in 1040 AD, can be found here. Germany takes the environment very seriously, and for the past 2 decades has been going on a major green revolution. As of today, they have the largest installed solar power capacity, and green infrastructure practices like home installed turbines and solar panels have seen a huge surge in the past 10 years. Forests dominate the southern regions where the landscape gets hillier and mountainous, the most famous one being the Black Forest or the Schwarzwald in Baden-Württemberg. Deer, bears, boar, foxes, badgers, and the national animal, the eagle, can be found thriving in these parts. Nonetheless, economically, Germany is known mostly for their exceptional engineering and industry production. Companies we've all heard of like Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, Audi, Telecom, Nivea, DHL, Bosch, Adidas, Puma! Adidas! Puma! Yeah, it's kind of like the whole biscoito bolacha thing from Brazil. Remember? Well, we have mudflats, tornadoes, pork, beer,
I have not yet watched the Brazil episode. Maybe I will do so next time. If you want, leave a comment, leave a like, and tell me in the comments that you want to see Brazil or another country, of course.
Mountains, all that's missing is people. Level 3.
I think at this point I want to mention a little bit about what I think about this ongoing conflict in the Middle East between the militant group Hamas and the Israeli army. Of course, it is unacceptable and wrong what Hamas did in Israel on the 7th of October, killing 1,400 people, but at the same rate, it is also wrong to bomb civilian areas and residential areas where people live, destroying hospitals and churches and other things in Gaza. So when Hamas proved that they are disgusting assholes by killing innocent civilians, Israel proved that they can do the best, they can do the same, and are also not much better than Hamas because they also kill innocent civilians, just not in Israel but in Gaza. So I think the world's reaction to this is most, at least in the Western countries, mostly wrong, unconditionally supporting Israel, maybe sometimes saying, hey, it's wrong to bomb civilians, but still no doing anything to stop it, anything in their power to stop it. Like, I heard sometimes people at least condemn the bombing of Gaza and say also or criticize Israel for doing this, but mostly they don't do this. And Biden even delivers more weapons to Israel, which is of course disgusting. Anyway, enough about this. Let's continue.
Fun little side note, in Germany, this is 3, not this. Now, if the EU was a family, Germany would kind of be like the dad who got out of rehab, reconciled with his wife and kids, and is taking his new life very seriously as he is haunted by the demons of his past every day. First of all, the country has about 82 million people and is the most populated in the EU, second most in Europe after Russia, and has the 4th largest nominal GDP in the world. About 80% of the country identifies as ethnically German, 12% other Europeans, mostly Polish, Italian, Dutch, and so on. Turks make up about 3.5%, Asians at 2%, and the rest are made up of other groups like Africans and Americans. Also, they use the euro, they use the C and F type outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Germany is without a doubt a global powerhouse. It is the strongest economy in the EU and makes up about 16% of the union's population. It's the 3rd largest exporter and importer of goods in the world. After the United States, Germany is also the 2nd most popular global migration destination. Germany experiences a high standard of living, tuition-free universities, if you get accepted that is, a mostly government-subsidized universal healthcare system, about a quarter is still privatized, and state pension for retirement.
I'm wondering, why so many people want to live in the United States or migrate into the United States. I think it's mostly because they have no other option. They live on the American continent, like in South America, in poor conditions, and moving north to the United States is the best thing they can do. I don't think that they want to migrate there because living as a poor person or as a not a rich person in the United States is so awesome. So I don't think that that's the case. Anyway, let's continue.
At age 65. Now, when it comes to language, things get a little tricky. Each state kind of has their own type of German. However, to get by, most Germans learn how to speak Hochdeutsch, or High German, which is the standard dialect. The European Charter, however, protects the minority languages of Frisian, Danish, Romani, Sorbian, which is like a Slavic-based language used along the Czech-Polish border, and Plattdeutsch, or Low German, which has similarities to Dutch and is typically used by the Amish and Mennonite communities across the world. In terms of regional distinctions, though, Germany is kind of divided into 5 cultural areas: Rhineland, East, and Middle Deutschland.
He said 5 regional cultural areas, but there are 6 places here. Like here Schleswig-Holstein and Lower Saxony and Hamburg. The whole eastern countries like Thüringen, a part of Hessen, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Sachsen-Anhalt, and Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, Bayern, Baden-Württemberg, and Saarland, Rheinland-Pfalz, Hessen, and the last one here. It's a 3. Here's this one. And then here Berlin. It's the 6th one. So he spoke about 5 different cultural areas, but there are 6 places here, so it's a little bit weird.
Deutschland, Norddeutschland, Baden-Württemberg, and Bavaria. Rhineland is on the west side and has a culture somewhat more influenced by France, more Catholics. Carnival celebrations are huge out here. East and Middle Germany was the part that used to be its own country for 40 years as it was influenced by the Soviets. Sorbians can also be found here too. Northern Germany has a coastal sea culture that identifies closer with Denmark and the Netherlands. They are also known for being kind of quiet and reserved. Baden-Württemberg has an interesting Swabian culture where they speak a dialect so thick that only about 40% of it is intelligible to other Germans. And then you have Bavaria, which is where the Americanized, perpetuated stereotypes about Germany came from, with Lederhosen, dirndls, half-timber, beer houses, and cuckoo clock.
Hi, you hear me? A question to me, to you, all of you guys who come from far away or from also France or the Netherlands or Poland. The same stereotypes, what stereotypes exist in your country about Germany? Please tell me.
For the record, Germans are sick of those stereotypes. It's like saying all Americans are cowboys with guns and horses. Speaking of stereotypes, some of the stereotypes in Germany include things like Saxons being very indecisive, Berliners are always bragging about themselves, Swabians are stingy, Bavarians drink too much, Hessians talk too much, Holsteiners don't talk enough, and so on. Words differ from regions too. For example, in High German, you would say Auf Wiedersehen, but in Bavarian, you would say Fiat die Gott. In Kölsch, you would say Tschüss, and in Rhineland, you might say Ajus. And there's so many compound words that get really long and complicated, like Rindfleischetikettierungsüberwachungsaufgabenübertragungsgesetz.
He's mentioning this himself, that technically not a word anymore. It was a word once, but technically you can also create as long words as you possibly want. For example, Hochhaus, Kellertür, Schlüsselloch. Skyscraper and basement door keyhole. In one word, so you can add more and more nodes into a longer word theoretically, and there's no limit to it. So the grammar allows you to create as long a word as you want. You can also sometimes add other words which are word types which are not nouns behind one another, but mostly nouns.
This is because many words are merkwürdig, or ambiguous words that are kind of elongated to give off an extensive meaning. Germans have very vivid imaginations and make up words for everything, like
Okay, you hear me. Ohrwurm, Fernweh, Kummerspeck, innerer Schweinehund, Fremdschämen, Torschlusspanik, Treppenwitz, lebensmüde. Funny.
Like my favorite word, Backpfeifengesicht. Not this time. By the way, for the record, this letter makes a double S sound. However, spelling reformers have tried to decrease the usage of this letter in recent years, which has led to some protests. Germans also love dubbing everything from foreign media into German.
That's also true, and sometimes it's a little bit weird. I mostly watch movies in the original language or in English. But there's this one movie, the Olsenbande, or it's a series of movies. It was translated from Danish to German. But the movie you can find now, or I have only watched this series, this version of this movie, which was translated in the old German Democratic Republic, East Germany, the communist one, and this one was really good translated into German. Yeah, I don't think that I have watched the version from West Germany. I think it was terrible translated, but yeah, mostly I don't watch translated movies, at least when there is an English version. And there are not so many good German movies, I have to say. I'm sorry, but it's true. There are not so many German movies originally German which are also good, in my opinion. There are some, but not so many.
Some like this, some don't, but either way, it's here to stay. About 60% of the country identifies, at least nominally, as Christians, split between Protestants and Catholics. Germany was even the birthplace of the Protestant Reformation, split from the Catholic Church by Martin Luther. Otherwise, the rest are mostly agnostic or irreligious, with a noticeable community of Muslims, mostly from the huge Turkish and Middle Eastern communities, at about 5%, as well as a few Jews, Buddhists, and Hindus rounding up the remainder 1%. To kind of get a feel of what it's like to be German, you kind of have to understand where they've come from. After World War II, they kind of had a lot of work to do. However, it wasn't until the mid-50s and early
He also mentioned this in the Black Friday video, but Wirtschaftswunder is not written correctly. Maybe I will write the correct version here right now. 1, 2, 3.
60s that the Wirtschaftswunder, or economic wonder, happened, to which almost everybody got to work. Basically, this guy envisioned and implemented a social market economy combined with free market capitalism alongside socialist policies that established fair competition in a welfare state. GDP increased by 80%, investments by 120%, labor forces were utilized to the maximum. Things started to get better. In Germany, all children are corralled into general public schools until age 10, when they are given the option to enroll in 3 different types of middle schools. Gymnasium, geared towards focusing on higher linguistic, mathematic, and science fields for universities. Realschule, a middle ground type of school. And Hauptschule, a school that is geared towards helping kids that seem to show promise in specific vocation or trades. Germany also has the largest music market in the EU and the 3rd in the world after the US and Japan. They love preserving their heritage and culture through music and art. In fact, there are around 130 national orchestras, mostly supported by public money, and artists get a 50% reduction in health insurance through a special type of offer in the legal system. One thing that still kind of supposedly maintains itself in Germany is the mindset of Vergangenheitsbeweis.
I think it's also written wrongly, but maybe it's also not. I will check it when I edit the video. Vergangenheitsbewältigung, how we deal with our past. I think that's a very important thing. I don't think that's a collective responsibility all Germans have also right now for the crimes our ancestors did against the Jews and other people in Europe, or through the both world wars. But I think it's our responsibility as Germans that we try to do everything to prevent something like this from happening ever anywhere again. At least in Germany. We don't have so much influence on what other countries are doing. And I think that sums it up very good. So, there's no responsibility. I mean, there's no. I'm stupid. There's no guilt we have to feel, but we should have a responsibility. We should feel a responsibility to try our best to fight fascism and everything which is connected to it, everywhere and anywhere in the world, wherever we can, and do our best to educate people, to teach people about the horrors of the past, and never to forget what happened, and never to do something like this again. A good thing to watch, a good video to watch about this topic is the Fallen of World War II. I reacted to it twice already. You can find the reactions probably at the there, or you there's a link in the description. So check it out. The Fallen of World War II, fallen.org. It's a wonderful website. You can watch the movie. It's amazing. It really blows your mind, and it really shows you how terrible war is. How terrible war is. There are also probably many other good videos you can watch about fascism and the Nazis and so. But this video, The Fallen of World War II, is also a video I always recommended during when Russia attacked Ukraine, and then when everyone was talking about arming Ukraine and supporting Ukraine with weapons and so on. Why I'm against supporting any country with weapon, because I think war is something absolutely terrible, and we should do always everything to prevent a war. Anything is better than war. And if a war can be prevented by anything, it's always a good thing to do it. So that's my opinion. Let's continue.
Totally butchered that, which kind of translates to a lingering sense of guilt from the past. Germans have reportedly some of the lowest levels of national pride, and
I'm not sure about this. It feels great when he says this. I feel good. I hate nationalism, but I see it also here in Germany sometimes, and I think it is rising. As in many other parts of the world, but it really feels good when he says this, that Germany has one of the lowest national pride in the world. I feel great. I hate national pride, and it's weird for me to feel pride for your country. Yeah, maybe I'm the weird person, but it's how I feel.
unless if you're at a soccer game, chances are you will almost never see anyone holding a German flag or waving it in any kind of patriotic setting. It's weird, but it's kind of how things are.
You monster!
They've made great strides to move on from the past. Nazi flags and Mein Kampf are incredibly illegal items.
I think you can own the book Mein Kampf. It's available in university, in libraries and universities. It is used for studies sometimes, but it's also, I think, edited in a certain way, and I'm not sure mistaken. But yeah, there are ways you can read it. But it's not as easy, and I think it's an edited version.
To own in Germany, and they even have a rule, the Volksverhetzung, which basically
Volksverhetzung, yes, it basically says you can't deny the Holocaust, for example. You cannot say that the Holocaust did not happen in Germany. It's illegal to say this. And I'm not sure about whether I think it's wrong or good, but it's how things are, and I can understand reasons from both sides of the argument for how it is.
says you cannot talk trash by denying the past atrocities. Some people say this infringes on free speech, others say it's good because it solidifies truth. Otherwise, some notable Germans throughout history include Charlemagne, although he was a Frank, but I guess it kind of counts. Albrecht, Dürer, David Friedrich, Gutenberg, Bach, Beethoven, Karl Benz, Albert Einstein, although Americans would like to claim that he moved to the US and became an American. Johannes Kepler, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, Friedrich Schiller, Michael Schumacher, Alex von Humboldt, and of course Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels co-founded Marxism. But one thing Germans do best would have to be diplomacy. To this day, the German passport holds the most.
I think Japan beat us. I think Japan has now in this year or so, I checked it recently, the most visa-free countries in the world. So, but it's also a few years of this video, so things maybe just changed.
Most visa-free nations out of any other country in the world, just beating Sweden. Therefore, you can kind of conclude that Germany kind of knows how to relate to people. Let's find out how in the final round, level 4. Germany knows how to make friends. They have over 220 diplomatic missions abroad and over 350 honorary consuls and have an incredibly high position of authority in the EU. Their closest African friend would probably be Namibia. As a former German colony way back in the 19th century, Namibia held on relations, and to this day, German is still a recognized language in Namibia. Germans have been supporting and sharing ties both economically and ideologically for over a century. India and South Korea are really close friends in Asia. India supported both East and West Germany during the Cold War, and after reunification, they were like, woohoo! Even better! And Germany is to South Korea what Japan is to France. They love to piggyback off of each other's ideas and cultures, especially in the automotive industry. Many South Koreans were sent to Germany after the Korean War to work abroad and study, and Germans have been growing in fascination with visiting South Korea. The US is probably the closest ally outside of the EU. About 30% of Americans claim German heritage, and after World War II, the Marshall Plan allowed the US to give post-war aid to Germany, which helped kickstart the economic recovery. Germany was a key figure in the formation of the state of.
Hear me? No, you can hear me. I'm sorry. I'm muted. I think it should. I mean, I think many people consider if you criticize Israel as to be anti-Semitic, which is of course stupid and baseless, because you can on the one side criticize, of course, Israel, which is absolutely good and normal and should not be considered anti-Semitic at all. If you just criticize the government and you know what this government is doing. There are a lot of things which are terribly about the government right now, and the things they are doing. For example, the bombing of Gaza, but also displacement of Palestinians in the West Bank and so on. And then you can of course just criticize Israel because it's a Jewish state and criticize the Jews. And this is anti-Semitic, of course, and awful. But if you just criticize the government and what the government is doing, the policies the government is using to harm Palestinians, then you can. It's perfectly right. You can criticize any country in the world, but yeah, don't criticize special people groups like Jews, Muslims, or other minorities or majorities, depending on where the world you are, of course.
Israel after World War II, which after the Holocaust left an obligation to invest in the building up of a Jewish community. Turkey is probably the.
I heard also that there were other suggestions where a Jewish state could be built, like Uganda or Alaska or Argentina. So it was not like something which always were planned to be in the Middle East. There were other possible countries the Zionist movement considered.
Closest Middle Eastern ally, as the Turks make up the largest Asian demographic in Germany, although many of them may or may not also identify as Kurds. But since Kurds don't have a state of their own, they usually go under Turkish passports when immigrating and are documented as such. Their best friends, however, would probably be literally all their neighbors. The thing is, Germany is kind of like Bosnia and Herzegovina, in which by default they kind of get friends based off of the regional alliances. Bavarians get along with Austrians, Baden-Württembergs get along with Switzerland, East Germany has good relations with the Slavic countries, the Rhine states love Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. France, and the north side loves the Netherlands and Denmark. France, though, is kind of like the trophy wife of Germany, as the two have had an angry start, but then eventually fell in love and worked together beautifully. France is like the beautiful, flashy spokesperson for the EU that stands in the spotlight as Germany stands in the background, managing all the money and logistical work. In conclusion, although Germanic peoples have existed for thousands of years, an actual unified German state didn't appear until kind of recently, and the brief time that they've been around, they've kind of gone through some of the most intense, world revolutionizing historical events possibly imagined. Yet, they've come out working hard and building their way up to become a world superpower. You gotta give it to them. There's something about the Germans. And with that, final boss level complete. Stay tuned. Another African state Germany has ties to, Ghana, is coming up next.
And here I am back again. I just wanted to give you the rest of the video without my commentary. Now we are at the end. It was also just 1 minute or so. I think this video is very good. My video is more than double as long as the original video, which is, I think, good. I will upload the video today, I hope, if I get to edit it. So please tell me in the comments what you think about all of the stuff I have told you my opinions about. Tell me what you think about the conflict in the Middle East between Gaza and the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces. Tell me what you think about the autobahn, the highway system with speed limit. Tell me some stereotypes you have about Germany in your country, and what you have learned about Germany in your country at school. And other things you want to mention, of course. Just write it down in the comments and let me know. I'm curious to talk with you guys. Suggest other stuff to me, videos or video games. Also, I think you should all watch some videos from Hassan Abi about the Israel-Palestine conflict. He can explain all of the stuff much better than I can possibly. He knows also, of course, much more. I have learned a lot of him, and I also read many stuff on Al Jazeera. I watched many videos on Al Jazeera English. It's a more neutral perspective I can have in comparison to Western countries or Western stuff like BBC or CNN or whatsoever. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well, my dear friend in Kenya. I really like you very much, and I hope that you might become my official girlfriend soon. Yeah, but take your time. Don't worry, it's alright. Just yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to everyone. And I kind of love you.